Good evening, fellow ghouls and spectres alike. It's your ghost host with the most, Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5, here to engage in some haunted holiday hijinks by trudging through the catacombs and dusting off the cobwebs as we recount our spooky selection of Halloween classics.
So light the jack-o'-lantern suit up and grab the candy dish as we revive and recount tonight's spooky selection. Hey Arnold, the Ghost Bride! Maniacal laugh. How the hell are you doing, Dragon? Hey, Arnold, I am stoked to talk about this. This episode kind of lived up to expectations. This episode is I might not have the nostalgia for this one that I do for Haunted Train, but this is kind of like right up there in terms of intensity, man. Let me tell you. I love how this one plays with ambiguity. I love how it plays with mood and sound. This is chronologically, correct me if I'm wrong, Dragon, but chronologically, I believe this is the last spooky episode of Hey Arnold to ever get produced.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really do think they went out with a bang with this one. And of course, folks, just kind of, if you're tracking our lineup of haunted holiday hijinks this year, the first one we did was the Haunted Mansion, which featured, in a weird way in the movie, a ghost bride. And then here we've got something that, oddly enough, Dragon, this ghost bride kind of reminds me very much. It's a much more Haunted Mansion ride accurate version of said ghost bride. So it's kind of a weird parallel there.
Of course, in mentioning the ride, we should also note, because we didn't note it nearly enough in the other video, of course, Haunted Mansion turns 50 this year.
Yes, of course. 50 years of Constance Hatchaway scaring the crap out of guests.
Yep.
All right. So, Dragon, like I said, I don't have a ton of nostalgia for this one, but I did really end up liking it. I think this very much checks up all the points of a good Hey Arnold special. It kind of gets us into the mood right away. It gives us reason for all the kids being there. It gives us an urban mythology and a set of rules to look for. I really think this one was very well done. I'm not going to call it the Haunted Train, but I will say it's up there for one of the best non-Haunted Train episodes of a spooky Hey Arnold episode.
I'm not as crazy about it. I think it's fine. I think it held up better than I thought it would. But I still, I don't know. I think there's still some shaky parts in kind of the motivation for the episode. I don't know.
All right, fair enough. That's why we're here, to have this conversation. Okay, so with that in mind, Dragon, do you want to dive in and have proverbial conversation?
Yeah.
Okay, so folks, the way we're going to do this, and I assume most of our other TV episodes, correct me if I'm wrong, Dragon.
Yes.
We're going to do it beat by beat, right? For most of our TV stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Basically, unless it's a movie, or like, I guess in some cases a comic series or a long-standing series of some variety, it'll be beat by beat. Unless it's one of those, unless it's like a movie or something.
Yeah. All right. So, Dragon, how do we start this one off?
Well, we start this off with the Hey Arnold gang walking by the cemetery. Walking by the cemetery, and Harold gets creeped out by dead people because there are dead people, and of course it's very much kind of a reminder, as for all of us, of our mortality, and very much
like Stinky in particular has a haunting line. He's like, "Well, you might as well get used to it on account of we'll probably all end up buried there someday." Stinky to always provide just like a modern day context that does stick with you.
That it is. Yep, that's Stinky for you. Of course, got to remember Stinky's secretly a vampire, so we have that going on too. No,
Oh man, that's another one that we still have to get to.
Are you sure we didn't get there already with it?
I'm pretty sure.
It's crazy. I have the strangest sense that we've covered it, but apparently we haven't. It's trippy. Anywho, so let's see. So oh yeah, so of course, basically we're framing it like, oh, that might not be as long. That's not for a long time. That's not for a long time though. And then of course I believe Sid or someone says, that is true, unless we run into the Ghost Bride. The Ghost Bride. And Eugene is in the dark on who the Ghost Bride is. No idea.
You mean you've never heard the sad, tragic, and horrifying tale of the Ghost Bride?
Which, of course, now we've teed it up wonderfully, as we tend to do with the Hey Arnold. Honestly, with the Hey Arnold episode, but of course, in this case, with a spooky Hey Arnold episode, where urban legend, spooky in nature, we have one guy in the dark on, in this case being Eugene. Who do we go to, as we tend to do? We go to Gerald, of course, but that's going to be a big part of our twist in this episode.
Yes.
As
Curly,
Gerald,
it's Curly's favorite story, and he really wants to tell it.
Curly's very impassioned. Curly's very much, he insists on telling the story. He's very insistent, but essentially he's outvoted on, no, Gerald tells the story better. Let Gerald do it. I mean, of course, Gerald's the urban legend kind of go-to guy in the whole series. It's Gerald or Phil. Gerald and Phil are the urban legend kind of provocateurs, if you will, in the whole series. So, yeah, they're our go-tos. All right, so regale the folks.
But this, of course, importantly, this upsets Curly to the point where he's just like yelling, like, "But I know it too!
I know it too!"
He just stomps his foot down loudly as Gerald starts his story. All right, you ready for the story?
Tell me a story.
All right. It all started 80 years ago, back in the Middle Ages. A beautiful young woman who was very much in love with her fiance. Helga's kind of admiring Arnold from a distance there.
Interestingly, the only time she does that in the episode, because sometimes, especially in season 5 of Hey Arnold, if you really pay attention, season 5 of Hey Arnold, basically when they do the April Fool's Day episode, there's a lot of Helga kind of not feeling as romantically charged, inclined towards Arnold in places. In this episode, it's only one scene, then we move on from it.
All right. So basically, they're counting down the days until they were to be married. Her fondest said that they would always love each other and live happily ever after. Finally, the day arrived. What? Go ahead.
No, that's the kiss of death right there. We're going to live happily ever after.
Yeah. Finally, the day arrived. She looked radiant as she stood at the altar in her white wedding dress. But as the hours went by, the bride realized what everyone suspected. The husband-to-be had skipped out and left her at the altar. We see her stomp the bouquet of flowers, run out, but then we pan over, literally the next church over from where she was set to be married, Dragon.
Kiki, don't forget the worst part of it all. Not only did she get stood up on the day of her wedding, but for her sister.
Yes, the brother had fallen in love with her sister. Well, the next day they were married.
That's a Deliverance Halloween you're telling there, Tiki. No, the fiance fell for the sister, not the brother fell for the sister.
Sorry. Well, yeah, you're right.
So she observes this. She's very angry. And that night, what does she do?
Well, she goes to her closet. She puts on her wedding dress. And she went and found a big, sharp axe. Then she walked the 13 blocks down to her sister's house in the wedding dress in the pouring rain. She goes in the door. Her sister and her husband were asleep in their bed. They never even saw the terrible event coming. When the police came, they found her sitting in the rocking chair next to their bodies, rocking herself and smiling while she hummed the wedding march song. And Dragon, another disquieting detail that the narration doesn't bring up is the fact that she's scattering a bag of rice on the floor.
I know, that's my favorite detail in the whole thing, by the way. I love that. Just,
so then,
creepy.
then in horror, they watched as she jumped from her chair and leaped out the window, resulting in her demise.
So I just look to take a moment here for two things. One, take a moment to X out the little thing on the screen right now.
What now?
Towards the Hey Arnold, the little thing on the screen. I want to, get rid of that. Secondly, I just want to take a moment to decompress. Man, that's one of the darkest tales we've had in a long while on Hey Arnold. I got to admit, because think of it, we have like a bride who she killed her husband and her possible husband and her brother. Sorry, now you got me doing it. Killed her fiance, her ex-fiance, and her sister. Is sitting next to the bodies, and she put out the wedding garb and everything, threw it on the bed as well. Well, she's throwing rice, and she jumps out a window to her demise. On Nickelodeon.
For kids.
That's what I'm saying. That's insane. They got away with that.
Yeah, I hear you.
Awesome. Anyway, so yeah, Cynthia Snell on the tombstone. She's buried in her dress though. She's buried in style. It's good to have a crazy request. I mean, again, we love our twisted mythology. It's gonna be a great tale around Hallows Eve, one might think. So let's bury her in the dress because let's celebrate killers and their gimmicks. Let's do that, man. Yeah. Every year
on the anniversary of her gruesome deeds, she rises from the grave and wanders around the tombstones, humming the wedding march and looking for more victims. The end.
Of course, then Curly instantly complains, I could have told it better, and you left out the best part. It's tonight. So then we get into kind of like the old kind of little rascals of it all here of like, oh boy, let's all meet here at sundown to see if it's true or not. So Harold's definitely scared during all this too, by the way, and I love it. Oh, I'm scared, and then Arnold, I love this. I'll admit, this is the kind of stuff on the rewatch that made me like this episode more in places. Here we have Arnold saying, "Harold, you don't have to go if you don't want to." He says, I don't, but if I don't, I'll be chicken. He's got the old Marty McFly.
This is kind of like, this is right around the time where Harold was developing more of a personality, more three dimensions to him. This was like, around the time of my favorite episode, Bices, Buses, and Bikes, Buses, and...
Is it boats?
Trains? Something like that?
I mean, we know they go on a boat, and they do go on a bus, and they go on a bike, so it would have to be those three, right?
Bikes, Buses, Boats sounds about right.
Point being, I know what you're talking about. It's a great episode. I agree.
Yeah.
Yes, and we've gone so. If you really look in the trend, because again, this is like the last thing, and this is in season 5, towards the very end of things here, and we've gone so far with that character, Arnold's going to get beat up.
Hungry.
That's what I'm saying. Harold just started off as like he's the kid who's going to beat up Arnold until Arnold did the whole crazy dance. That's where Harold started off as, kids. It's just going from like, but I was hungry to Cupcake the cat, to being a butcher, to meeting Big Patty, to doing all this stuff, man. Harold just wondering.
Oh, the butcher episode is a damn good one.
I love the butcher episode, but we're getting sidetracked. My point is a lot of character progression, and to the point where now he's just kind of the lovable coward of the group. He's very much One could say he's like Arnold from the Magic School Bus in this episode. One could say.
Oh my god, little tie-in there.
One could say. Anywho. So Harold's scared, but he's going to go because he doesn't want to be chicken. So Curly's out, man. Curly wants out of the story, and he just, Curly's out, and Helga's just commenting, poor demented little freak or something.
Okay, you ready for something that would not go over well in 2019?
Sorry, go on.
All right, tell him, Dragon. Tell him what would not go over well in 2019.
Telling a girl she can't play with the boys because she'd get too scared.
Yeah. Oh man, Dragon. There is actually some pretty deep sexism in this episode that I kind of forgot about that we'll get into.
I do love. Okay, so two things. Okay, one, I do love Helga's response to this. Just be, I wouldn't get scared. Just very ostensibly.
That is the thing that kind of saves it. It's it's very much like we know for a fact that she would, at the very least, be less scared than Harold, but let's face it, reality, she'd probably be one of the least scared people in that whole group.
True, but I gotta be honest. Just now we're saying, just thinking back, like like Weezanette or something. Like she gets scared collectively. Basically, in a group, Helga gets scared alone, not so much. It's kind of the weird thing, It's like when you really think about it, it's like it's Weezanette. She screams and takes the Shaggy Scooby pose with Arnold, just like she jumps into his arms, like she'll do that. But so I mean, it's not necessary. It's not technically wrong, but they're all gonna get scared. My point is like when they have a guy who vocally says to the lead character, "I'm scared, but I don't want to be chicken," and he gets to go. Yet Helga, not so much, and especially today, not looked
Gender
on.
politics, Dragon. Gender politics.
Yeah, and I
My
gotta tell
my personal favorite line is a subtitled line from everyone's favorite character, Gerald Johansson, as they're walking away, and he just says, "It's a fella's thing."
Yeah,
Not very flattering, Gerald. Not very flattering. Come on, work on your inclusivity, man.
So, not for any BS political stuff, but just for the fact that this is what drives Helga's motivation. This is kind of what bugs me in the episode. Yeah, this thing's always kind of with the bad taste. It's not a major thing, but this is kind of what's always kind of made this kind of in the lower tier of the spooky Hey Arnold episodes for me. It's like one of the things like, really, that's why Helga's doing all this, because she was told she can't play with the boys, really? I don't know.
I mean, I think it makes sense with her character. It's like if she can't play with them, then fuck with them. I mean, I think that's kind of her general attitude. I don't know. I could buy it.
Yes, but I think she goes to really elaborate measures, as we're going to get into. That's what I'm saying. She went to a lot of elaborate measures on within a day's notice to really, That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm having trouble wrapping my head around.
It's effective, though.
It's effective. It is effective. That's why I'm on the. That's what I'm saying. It's not a bad thing. Just why it's probably a little lower tier. But anyway, let's keep on going. So let's keep on trucking. All right. Let's see. So Helga. Speaking of which, Helga's plotting to become the bride. She becomes she finds a little dress. I don't know if it's her mother's wedding dress or just kind of a generic white dress. She grabs some chains, which are wondering why she need chains. What is she, freaking Jacob Marley? Why'd she need the chains for? We're gonna see what she needs the chains for later on. And then of course she goes for the old croquet mount because we know Big Bob. Big Bob apparently croquets on the weekends.
Naturally,
yes. Which, of course, leads to the axe silhouettes, basically for the kids out there. We can't give her an actual axe because that would be non-PC. We can't do it. We can do a lot of horrific things in the earlier scene, but again, as long as we don't see any brutality go on there, we can allude to an axe, but we can't show it like a child. We can't show a child holding an axe. So we're going to basically sell the effect on the wall in silhouette here. Man, she's holding a croquet mallet, which looks kind of like an axe, kind of a proto Harley Quinn with Helga Pataki. One could say. Anywho,
right.
So later with some very Peanuts-esque music, which I love when we do this in the spooky Hey Arnold episodes. We use that very Peanuts-esque score,
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So the gang arrives. They all summon together. They meet up at late again. Basically, it's around sunset at the cemetery, and we have scared Harold making his way, kind of the last.
I'm here, and I'm scared, and we're all gonna die.
But I'm not
chicken.
So they all enter, and then, of course, behind them, Helga, she chains the gates closed behind them. So, of course, once they scream for bloody murder and want out, kind of Abbott and Costello style, not going to be able to get out.
What a twist.
Yes. So the gang, the boys, they find the headstone. They find the grave. And this is a fun gag. And this is like Harold just kind of playing with the censors. It's always kind of fun when they do this here. Where Cynthia Snell. By the way, kind of fun name for the bride. Did you like the name at all, or is it just me?
I like the name. Yeah.
Cynthia Snell. All the names Snell. Anyway, so she lived her life and went straight ahead. And of course, it's just the tombstone's kind of buried underneath the earth. It's kind of sunken a little bit, so I can't quite make out the rest. Oh, PC natures. So then the guys are getting a little freaked out because, okay, we've seen the grave. She's not here. No humming. It's sunset. We're starting to get creeped out. We have an owl. Basically, all the Halloween, all the spooky, all the eerie trimmings, if you will. And then they're all just trying to say, yeah, there's no bride, right? No, they're all just very terrified. They want to get up. They don't want to say, let's get out of here.
They're all very agreeable to the situation at first. They're just like, yeah, we saw it. We're good. This proves there's no bride. Let's get out of here. Let's go home. So they make the gate discovery, and then things get really scary as night
Night falls, and they all begin to panic as of their axie fate. They're all about to be axed. They're all about to lose their heads, and Arnold's making some. Basically, Arnold kind of is sort of our Velma of the group right now. Arnold's trying to make the rationale of it all here. It's like, it's probably the Night Guard. The Night Guard locked us in. That's all. So we shouldn't panic. So let's just cross to the north gate. Well, that's our new plan. Harold, of course, like, can someone carry me? So we
They
have
should
some,
have had a gag of like someone like Sid or Eugene carrying Harold.
one, it would have been hysterical if Eugene was carrying Harold. Would never have happened, but it would be hysterical. So let's see. So then they're all walking. They got some great atmosphere in the episode here. They're all
Oh
walking
yeah, for
through.
sure. That's what really sells the episode for me, Dragon, is that atmosphere.
It is
It's kind of got a
solid.
little bit of a Sleepy Hollow vibe to it.
That it does. That it does. So they're walking through kind of a foggy graveyard setting. Sid's beginning to panic. And then Arnold, basically, this is where Arnold, I believe, gives the very pathetic kind of Velma rationale for things here. Arnold very pathetically makes this attempt to rationalize that. Well, because basically, they start to hear the humming now, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's a visitor also here late at night who likes to hum the wedding march, and they'll just have this wonderful beat where rarely can we do this with Arnold. Rarely can we just like take a pot shot of our lead guy here and just like say, "Yeah, you're not even being the rational guy in the room. You're running on fumes here, buddy." He's just saying, "Look, it's not the Ghost Bride." It's even Arnold's out of ideas here. So then, the Ghost Bride. There's a really great shot of the Ghost Bride behind him, like
Yeah,
right,
that's what I'm
rising.
saying, Dragon. Like all the shots of the Ghost Bride, as much as it is a little frustrating that we don't really get an ambiguous shot of like, ooh, is that the real Ghost Bride or not? Like all the shots of the fake Ghost Bride still are creepy as hell and framed in a way that does kind of sink into your mind as a kid.
That they are. So let's see. So of course you have that great shot, kind of set up behind Arnold, and let's see. Oh yes. So they of course they flee after this. They all run, and of course Helga's very behind them, saying, "Who's scared now?" Ha! So they run to the other gate, and the gate is then closed and then barred shut. And
Sid is not taking this well at all.
no, he's not. No, he's not. And he's just panicking over the inevitable demise. Oh God, we're all gonna get killed. We're gonna get our heads chopped off. Essentially, that Eugene is. Eugene's saying that's not reasonable to me at all. So then the gates begin to shake, and of course the reveal for this. And this is what I'm saying. This is where we get really elaborate. I'll give you the ambiance is there, man. But we have villains like we reveal Helga has like this elaborate pulley system and ropes and everything at the other side of the gate too.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's a little far fetched.
I mean, honestly, the difference
It's maybe
is
like dare I say it's a little Home Alone.
a little bit. It's like all the other Hammer episodes, they have like a mystique of like how much of the supernatural is there versus that's the thing, like how much is supernatural, how much isn't. And I think we get that, but not until the very end. I think that kind of shows in bits.
There
like
should be more ambiguity than there is. I hear you.
I think that's kind of like that's my main.
Okay,
Again,
dare I say that maybe if they would have cut Curly out entirely and the second Ghost Bride was the ambiguous Ghost Bride, then I think the episode would have worked a lot more.
maybe. I mean, again, it works enough, but it's just basically it doesn't cut the mustard compared to the others. I'd argue, but
Yeah.
comparatively because of that supernatural kind of it has the ending. It's kind of there, but a little too late for the anyway. We're jumping a little ahead here. So point being, locked in, scared, run away, and all Helga's doing so far.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. So then Harold's whimpering, Harold doing his whimpering thing. So he's whimpering and suggesting Arnold suggests they make a plan to escape. So let's see. Then Eugene during this scene, what's going to bring on extra the whimpering, the panic too, is Eugene is then humming the wedding march. It's a catchy tune. That's great though. That's funny.
That's a great character bit with Eugene. It's a catchy tune, guys.
Eugene, sometimes in the history of Harold, Eugene can be a bit much, but Eugene's on fire this episode, man. He is. We're all gonna die, and it's oh boy. And of course, then they hear the humming again, but it's not Eugene this time. So then, yet again, they panic, and let's see. I believe somebody's scoffing. Only an idiot would believe in the Ghost Bride. Uh, oh yeah, Helga's scoffing. I'm sorry, Helga's
Yeah.
scoffing at this, and he's like, only a day would believe in the Ghost Bride until she then hears the actual Ghost Bride humming, and then we have the fusion of our two parties here, our two fleeing parties. So as they're running for their life, this is pretty ingenious. I got to give it props. This is pretty ingenious. So as they're running and fleeing for their lives, Helga then is running in front of them, basically joining the party. And then we have
No, guys, it's me, Helga. I'm not the ghost.
this is when we get like the girl cried wolf territory, and I don't know if this is necessarily an issue or not, but it's just like Helga's running there, says, guys, just basically explain the whole thing, like guys, I was trying to scare you for telling me I couldn't make it, but now
Harold threatens domestic violence on Helga more than once.
oh, he's done that before. It's fine.
I know, just saying. In 2019, you
Yeah.
couldn't get away with that
I think
dialogue.
if there's a theme, the scariest thing these days is being
wagging my moral superiority at you, 1990s writers.
if anything, if there's any takeaway, if there's any moral takeaway from this, kiddos, it's the fact that being politically correct is the truly scary thing these days. Anywho, the point being, so now we've kind of fused their flip. Everyone's on the same side after kind of a girl who cries wolf moment of like, Helga, why should we believe you? Because then they of course they realize, oh God, actual ghost bride, let's run. They all run into a crypt, which again is really good setting, by the way. They run right into
crypt doors creak and tombstones quake.
Anyway, so. Let's see. So basically, the plan right now, they're all locked in the crypt. I think they boarded up essentially, and they're all just basically they're like, "What do we do now?" Basically, the plan is to wait her out. Well, I guess we're gonna wait her out to later.
Okay, this is a very disquieting moment for me personally, where you have the ghost bride just pacing back and forth, humming her song, just going at a very benign pace, a very intentional pace. And just like the suspense of like, oh God, does she know they're in there or not? Is she pacing the script for any particular reason? It does kind of like fill you with a sense of dread, Dragon.
Mm-hmm. So basically, Bride's just kind of going back and forth. It's apparently here's the creepy part of it: the fact that the Bride's been there for a while. That's what creeps me out about it. The fact that and the idea, of course, the person beneath that mask is like, oh God, so methodical and so eerie. But then again, if you really want to look at the logic of it too, I mean, if not just for eerie effect, that person under that mask can't go anywhere because the gates and everything are bolted shut, so that they're trapped in there too.
Yeah, so might as well have some fun with it while they're trapped.
Pretty much. Anyway, so Arnold elects to find a way out because they can't stay in there forever, and then we have this ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but it's quite funny. So it's just, well, these guys did. Harold's like, well, these guys did, and they're dead. And then we have just Sid saying,
they're dead, Harold.
And just Sid says, "What's your point?" Just without real, just it's kind of dumb, but it's so funny. All right. So Gerald wants in because he's hanging. Of course, he's kind of Arnold's partner in crime, but kind of the other half of the Hardy Boys of Hey Arnold, if you will. But also,
and then he's just sick of waiting around for dead bodies.
Waiting around with some actual dead bodies in a crypt. It is kind of freaking him out a little bit. But he's keeping us cool though. He's kind of playing it like Anthony Mackie. Seriously, if they ever do a Hey Arnold movie, get Anthony Mackie to play Gerald, please. I can dream, can't I?
I assume this would be like the Hey Arnold in their like mid-20s.
Yes, that one.
All right.
Reunion piece. Anywho. Okay, so the point being the boys head out. They duck behind a bush. Let's see, and then of course Arnold spots a very important clue. So they're kind of tracking the bride as the bride goes down to the crypt, and the bride essentially is breaking the door open breaking the door open with a mallet. Which, logically, when you really think about that, well, how did the bride get that mallet?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, I guess Helga left it behind, but still, I don't know. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe. Anywho, I'm sorry. You want to take us through this part?
Yeah, so essentially, as the bride is bursting in and all seems lost, Dragon, it's like a sense of doom and gloom. We're basically to the point in the haunted train where we're in the fiery pits of hell, and the Underlord is going to open the train and give us our 7,000 years of servitude or whatever. And then what happens, Dragon?
And then the bride is unmasked by Arnold. Arnold unmasks the bride from behind, and we reveal it's Curly.
Curly.
Curly. So Curly
You guys wouldn't let me tell the story.
So that's okay. I'll admit. So while I'm iffy on some of the Helga stuff in terms of like just getting Helga in on the action, because I found it kind of a cliche excuse. Well, she felt left out, so basically she kind of went full blown Darla on him. But for me, I love the ridiculousness of Curly did all of this, which I buy more from Curly than I do Helga. Curly went through all of this purely because he wasn't able to tell the story. Which, of course, given like the whole dodgeball affair that we had, I buy that from Curly very easily.
And it does kind of like it's a nice wrap up to the spooky episodes, because of course the one consistent with the spooky episodes is, like you said, either Grandpa, but most of the time Gerald is the one that consistently tells the stories through all of these.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a nice kind of it's sort of a meta, sort of like calling out on why Gerald is the best at telling these stories.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is kind of dark too, because initially I completely forgot about it. Basically, I was kind of on the edge of my seat. Well, I shouldn't say on the edge of my seat. I knew generally where it was going, but I kind of forgot this. Where they locked Curly in the crypt, and before we had that PS moment, I thought, "Oh God, they just locked him in the crypt." That's kind of dark. I mean, it's a little dark, but it is fair. So then we reveal, of course, we can have. But there's a little. Let me put it this way. So as they're all, we have kind of our Scooby Doo moment at the end here, where Arnold basically has this Velma moment yet again, where he says, "Well, Arnold, how did you piece together was Curly?" Well, I spotted Curly's socks when we ducked behind the bush, and it's kind of trick Curly would pull. So then we reveal Curly is tied up, and this is the supernatural thing we get at the very end, and it's creepy. I don't know if it holds up though, where Curly is tied up. And they basically make mention to, again, we kind of lighten things up here, mentioning, well, Curly is tied up, but essentially it's probably not like a really tight knot. He'll probably be able to loosen himself out of there, and he'll be able to walk out as soon as he figures out that he's not locked in. But while Curly is tied up, though, we hear the humming, and then what happens?
I mean, not much, honestly.
We hear Curly say no, like, no, and I gotta tell you, I gotta bear in mind, of course, now we know this because we have the Jungle movie, but I gotta be honest, it'd be really interesting to go back to the Hey Arnold episodes, and I remember they were released really out of order in season 5, but if you look chronologically, if someone could figure out that order, if we don't see Curly again, I mean...
Oh, man.
Essentially, I mean, again, Byron, now we know he's fine.
A big bunch of our main characters are just straight up murderers, is what you're implying?
Well, no, I'm implying an actual ghost got him, but...
Oh, man.
They would have to think that, though, but of course now we know he's all right.
I mean, they're at least partially responsible for that homicide, if that's the case.
In their defense, again, he did kind of bring it all on himself, though. He did. He's chased him into that crypt, so that's kind of Count of Monte Cristo justice there for you. I don't know.
All right.
Anyways, ridiculous. Just a little fleeting thought, if you will, looking back on it. Anyway, that brings us to
Dragon. If only Curly would have worn black socks.
Yeah, but you know what they say, Tig? You know what a wise woman once said? I don't know where your black socks are. Do you want me to darn some socks?
So I guess Curly's mother just wasn't willing to darn him some black socks, Dragon. I think that's what the problem was.
She didn't love him enough.
All right.
See, that's the only Ghost Bride I really care about. That Ghost Bride. But anyway, let's There you go. Haunted Mansion movie. I know who we need to cast as Constance Hatchaway. I know exactly who we need to anyway.
Oh yeah, that's an easy casting choice.
Easy, absolutely. Either that or Madame Leota, just a really hysterical Madame Leota. Anywho, okay.
All right. So, Dragon, any other final thoughts on this?
Oh well, final thoughts from me. Look, at the end of the day, it's kind of straight. It's really straightforward. It is. It's straightforward with a really great urban legend. A sense. It's a solid episode. It's not bad at all. It's just, again, it feels like a little kind of by the numbers in the way kind of things unfold. It feels very much like not even a Hardy Boy mysteries like we had with Four Eyed Jack. Like, there's a Hardy Boys episode of Hey Arnold for it. There's a good one. It's like the boys on an adventure trying to figure something out. That I buy. It's like an event. That's kind of like the classic spooky adventure I'm kind of used to on Hey Arnold. This was more of a kind of like, okay, they're scared in the graveyard for about 11 minutes, but again, it did bring more to the table on a rewatch, and it's been a long while. So this is one I never really go back to that often. Of course, I feel Hey Arnold, in many senses, you kind of see they kind of struck their best out the gate. Then over time, it kind of devolved a little bit. And I think it's somewhat true, but still not bad. It's pretty solid.
Yeah, this one it's not as memorable as some of the others, but I do think it's got some interesting stuff in it as well. I do think the story itself is one of the darker stories that we got in. It does have a lot of good graveyard atmosphere to it. I really, really like the fact that it almost has a meta narrative over the fact that Gerald maybe kind of hogs the screen time in terms of telling the stories.
That is the best
So
part.
all that is really good.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess, Dragon, for the next Haunted Holiday Hijinks, we're taking a ride on a bus, but not just any bus, Dragon.
One could say it's magic.
And one could say it's also a school bus. That's right, Magic School Bus. But which episode will we pick? We had a hard time picking one, but we came around to it, and you'll just have to wait to find out. So that will be Thursday night. We will be doing Magic School Bus. And then, to honor of the Haunted Mansion's 50th anniversary, we're doing the Haunted Mansion Debates. Disney Debates, Haunted Mansion Edition.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Very excited about that. All right, folks. That ends tonight's spooky selection. And our spirits grow weary. But they'll be stronger than ever next time as we engage in even more haunted holiday hijinks. Oh yeah! Oh yes! I'm here and I'm scared and we're all gonna die, but I'm not a chicken.
Let's darn some socks. What do you say?